Hello everyone. Hi everyone. Yeah. Would like to acknowledge the presence of the organizers, the campaigners, wonderful people, and the mayor, honorable mayor, esteemed guests, as well as co-presenters that we have here. It's a great honor and great privilege. I can see that I see a lot of colleagues, workmen. We've worked together. It's wonderful to be here again. So today, without saying a lot, I'm going to address maybe 2 or 3 things. One of the things that I would like to just talk about briefly is that when we are in health and social care, we find ourselves in a terrain that is ever-changing. Is that so? It's ever-changing, it's fast evolving, and it's very political as well. As you have heard the plea from the esteemed lady asking for more remuneration, and I'm sure the mayor will go and talk about that one, but then the trouble with that one is that it affects everyone in the whole country. And it needs a lot of levers to move for things to happen. But as long as we continue doing what we are doing, one day it will happen. One thing I would like to just talk about is, among other things, is the issue of training. A lot of us, as you know, that in the recent years, the terrain exploded in health and social care. It is believed that by 2030, the number of people who are being supported right now will double. So this is not going away. This is actually increasing. And it's one of those things that we will have to brace ourselves for what is coming in terms of the numbers, sheer numbers of people who are going to be needing support. But I've come to realize that a lot of us underestimate the value of training our staff. Why? Because it's expensive, number one. Number two, it's an intangible. You can't measure it when you train staff. But you will see the results over time. Now, in our work, when we work with different providers, we have come to realize, even in the training arena, we have come to realize a number of things that they raise. Like, for example, did we know that there are some people who actually rely, or companies that rely on online training? You can never rely on online training when the people have not been trained practically, face to face. You know what? We were talking to some of the people we train. You know what they were saying about online training? They were saying that we don't even go through the training. You go straight to the test and you Google for the answers. And that's exactly what they do. How many of us loved school when we were growing up? Very few. A lot of us were forced to go to school by government legislation. Do you think kids like waking up early in the morning, 6 o'clock, getting ready to go to school, and then going to school and sitting down and being told what to do? Because we are independent people. We don't like being told. So generally we don't like being trained. But the way our Creator designed us is such that we can only do well when we are trained. That's why, did you know that you did not even choose your name? In as much as you want your independence, your name was given to you. Yeah, you don't even give yourself a name. You are told. Why are you told? Because at that moment you are not capable of choosing a name for yourself. That's how even the Creator designed us. That's why we have 2 ears. Why do you have 2 ears? So that you can listen twice. Why do we have two eyes? So that you can observe twice. Why do you have two more nostrils? So that you can breathe in and breathe out. How many times? Twice. And how many mouths do we have? One. So that you may speak only. But how many times do we speak? More than we hear. How many times do we speak? More than we observe. How many times do we speak? More than we breathe in and breathe out. Because breathing in, breathing out calms us down. Have you ever noticed that when you're angry, you don't even feel pain? When you're angry, it's like you have a painkiller. Why? Because anger is one letter short of danger. Yeah? Yes. If you spell anger and put D in front, it becomes danger. So if you live in anger, you live in danger. Why? Because you are not being trained. So in other words, we must value training people, because as human beings, all other animals in the world, they have instinct. You don't have to teach them anything. They know how to make a nest. They know how to migrate when it's time. The only creatures that need learning are human beings. So if you have staff and you don't train them, no wonder why the field is toxic. They will be toxic. One of the providers came to us and said, please train our people when they go to visit clients not to open their bowels in people's homes. Another lady with dementia was following a carer with an air sprayer, air freshener. It was actually something that happened with another provider. Why? Because we eat different foods, don't we? We eat different foods. And my food, which smells lovely and wonderful in my eyes, and my ears, and my nostrils, does not have the same effect on someone else. Now when it's processed in here, and then I open my bowels when I'm working, and that smell lingers inside the whole house. And this can only happen when people talk about it and are trained. Right now some of you are laughing because you've not heard this before, have you? Or some of you have. But what I'm saying is that staff need to be trained. Don't underestimate the value of training staff. And don't think of saving money. Because when you train your staff, you gain more money. When we train people, we tell people this. On the right hand, care is 40%. On the left hand, care is 60%. A lot of providers who come from abroad, they are very good on the 40%. And they score 100% of the 40%. But in the end, ultimately, they fail in care. But they don't see it. How? And what am I talking about? People who provide care, the 40% I'm talking about, these are what we call task-focused carers. They come into the place, they can hoover, they can wash, they can clean, they can polish, they can even put, what do you call those that you put on nail? On cats. They can do it even on the pets. What I'm saying is they can do all the tasks so well. But no matter how well you do the tasks, it still amounts to 40%. That's why it's called health and social care. That's the 60%, the social part. The social part is when you learn to speak the language of the service user. And it's not an easy thing to do. It's something that you have to learn. And you can only learn that through training. For example, when we come from where we come from, example is from Africa and so forth, many people know that we don't look people in the eye, do we? In Africa, African tradition, we don't look people in the eye. It's rude, isn't it? Oh, they are surprised there. They didn't know that. We don't look people in the eye because it's rude. especially if they are elderly and if they are of a higher position. But here, you have to look people in the eye to prove that you are honest and you are listening. And it's something that we have to learn, isn't it? It's something that we have to learn. But then when you are learning that, do you know there is a 60-40 rule as well with looking people in the eye? If you go over 60% of the time looking at someone's eye, you're ogling. Ogling means you are staring at someone in a way that is demeaning to them. These are rules that are not spoken, but they're there. And now, you are coming and you are working in that environment. Remember that 60%. A lot of carers who come from abroad, healthcare workers who come from abroad, they are very good at scoring 100% of the 40%. But when it comes now to socialization, and in terms of avoiding socialization, what do? They overwork, they overclean, they overcompensate. And yet local workers, local healthcare workers, what do? They do not do so well on the 40%. But they score so high on the... And then sometimes you wonder, why do they like someone who does not do so much? Yet you do so much and yet you are not preferred. Sometimes. It's because of lack of understanding and lack of training that the 60%, the social aspect, communicating, is equally as important as doing the tasks. When you get there, don't rush to do the task. Talk to the person. Engage the person. Find out what has happened over the night, throughout the night when they were sleeping. Find out how they are today. Find out what they want in life. I'll give you an example one time. One time I was working as a regional manager in Surrey years back. And an incident happened. I was looking through the records, the statistics of carers visiting. And I saw there was that one client where everyone was going for 5 minutes. 5 minutes they leave it. 5 minutes they leave. 5 minutes. And then I said, what's going on? And they told me that he did not want anyone to talk to him. If you go there, he just wants you to do the microwave meal, put it on the table, and go. And then I said, okay. I put on my carer uniform. He didn't know that I was the manager then. I went into his house. I was rotated as a carer. When I went there, I went into his house and I did exactly what he wanted to do. Microwave, put the meal, and then I stood by the side. And then he said, oh, you're still here. Don't worry, just fill in your book and go. And I said, oh, I'll fill out my book, but I'm not going. And he says, why are you not going? I said, because I have still more time to be with you and want to talk to you and say, what do you want to talk to me about? And then I said, oh, when I came here, I noticed that there are clocks around your house. Clocks, lot of clocks, all over. And then he said, you noticed that? I said, yeah. You can see there are clocks there. And then he said to me, to measure how genuine I was. And then he said, what did you notice apart from the clocks? What else did you notice about the clocks? And I said, oh, remember my 2 eyes, my 2 ears, my breathing in and breathing out. I was doing all that at the same time while I was watching, was standing by his side. And then I said to him, oh, I can notice that the clocks are working, but they all show different time. And he says, okay, this clock, this is the time for Tokyo. As we are here, this clock is for New York. This clock is for Sydney. This clock is this town. This clock. There are different times across the world. And they were all ticking in his house. And by the time he finished explaining about the clocks, my time had already finished for the call. And then I noticed a sculpture that was there of a dog. And then I said, what of this sculpture? And he went on a tangent again about the what? The dog. Now, without training, people may think that they are doing a good job. Of course, the house is clean, but They should have just hired a cleaner. Do you notice that cleaners, when they go around, they put on headphones even in the warehouses and where they clean? They're not interested in socializing with anyone. They just want to do their job. That's why it's not called health and social care cleaning. It's just called cleaning. Are we together? But when it's health and social care, the most important part is to engage the person. That's what we call person-centered care. For you to be able to have person-centered care, you have to learn. You have to relate. And you have to listen. And a lot of things that I've learned in my life, I did not learn at university. And I have a couple of degrees actually. But most of the things that I learned in life was through health and social care. I tell you, I learned a lot that I would not have known. I even know now how to wipe my bottom clean. Oh yes, you may think that it's funny, and isn't it? But through cleaning other people, through doing a lot of other things like that, I've come to learn that, if you use a tissue and without using a wipe, your bottom is not clean. So you may be walking about thinking that you have done your job and you are so clean. But guess what? That's why I love doing what I do. I love care work. So the issue that I wanted to emphasize here is, I know we're laughing here and there, is never underestimate the value of what? Training. And I know my time is about to run out, is it? So I will quickly tell you about 4 stages of learning. First stage is what we have, what we call unconscious incompetence. Let's all say that. Unconscious incompetence is when you are oblivious of what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, and you are happy about it. So we call that unconscious incompetence. So a lot of people who do care work, health care, they may actually be operating at the level of unconscious incompetence. But this can only be sorted and dealt with if a person now goes to the next stage, which is now conscious incompetence, whereby you begin to know your limitations. You begin to know, what more can I learn? What more can I do? What more can I develop in? That's now conscious incompetence. And then if you begin to address those issues now through training, you go to the stage where we talk about conscious competence, whereby you begin to practice the right things through evidence-based practice, but you refer to the notes, you refer to the standards, you refer to CQC. You are always checking yourself against standards that are somewhere else. You are now at a conscious competence level. And then the next level is what we aspire for, which is now unconscious competence, where a carer, a healthcare worker, someone becomes a master in what you do. When we look after people and we become proud of what we do. I always say to people, did you know that air hostesses are carers in the air? The job description is just the same to the T. Air hostesses and the carer, the same job description, no difference. Health and social care, they will tell you if anything happens in the air, the door to your left, that's health and safety, and that's continuous risk assessment, isn't it? And then they come around giving you meals, don't they? That's waiting on people. We give meals, we provide meals. And then they help people to go to the toilet, don't they? Oh, but if you see an air hostess walking down the street, especially the male or the female one with a handbag, with their high heels, with what do you call them, with their wings on there, and pushing their trolley, coming from Paris, what do? But they are actually what? Carers in the air. But they love what they do. They love what they do. I could say more, but because of our time, please see us so that we can train you and others, and also equip you to train your own people. Thank you.